On this week's show, My Hero Academia, Saga, and we take you inside the making of IDW's G.I. Joe. It's Previews World Weekly, and it's happening right now. What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we're here every week to remind you guys to stop at a comic shop and get involved in what's happening in the world of comics. And if you enjoy the show and you like what you're seeing here, be sure to give us a like and subscribe and share to keep the nerd news coming.
So I know I'm late to the party, but I actually finally saw The Boys this weekend.
Some of it.
Some of it. I've started The Boys.
At random.
Yeah, at random. Like, it was really weird. I said I was going to take someone's Amazon Prime account and watch it because I don't have Amazon Prime. There's no shame in there. Everybody does that. I don't care.
That's true.
But because I did that, I ended up watching, like, I guess it was episode 5.
Some random in the middle episode, yeah.
But I was totally on board. Like, I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I was like, this is actually, I don't know, like we talked before, you said that like it's maybe a little bit more sympathetic towards the characters than the comic is. I've never been able to make it all the way through the comic.
Oh.
For that reason,
Sure.
actually. Like, I love Garth Ennis, but some of the
characters
stuff
are just too...
yeah. And it's not to say that he can't be a writer that like evokes emotion and all stuff, because he totally can be.
Absolutely.
But when he really wants to kind of like stick the knife in, he's really good at it. Yeah, yeah.
These characters are intense.
Yeah, they are. Right. And
Even in the show.
Exactly. And I think that's maybe what they pulled mostly from the comic. But like, yeah, it's an interesting show, and like it actually made me realize that like I'm assuming if you're coming into this for the first time as a like maybe a non-comic fan, or if you're just not familiar with comics from like the early 2000s, you might be like, whoa, but a lot of comics in the early 2000s were like that. The Ultimates were like that. There was a book called Supreme Power. Like they're just really like kind of like aggressive books, which is what got me back into comics actually, because they're like they just kicked the brakes off everything for like about.
Fair enough.
I want to say about like maybe 6 or 7 years, and it was just like, like everything was very subversive, right? So it reminds me of that, and it's very interesting that I think like, especially now that the MCU has kind of gone through I won't say it's over, but it's like definitely a sizable transition for the MCU, that we're kind of approaching this new leg, and it's coming from like, truthfully, the guys who, all the creators who like were responsible with that. We have Warren Ellis doing stuff. We've got Garth Ennis doing stuff. Grant Morrison just did Happy. Deadly Class was on TV, like recently. So
all this stuff is coming out, and it's pretty great.
And it's all subversive.
Yes.
And I think it's probably now is a good time
for it.
more
Alternative.
Right. Yeah. Like I think the DC movies tried to be subversive.
Right.
And people weren't ready for it.
No.
But we're at a point now where I think people are ready for it. And
I think that the subject matter is important as well.
Yeah.
Because like with the DC superheroes, they're still superheroes that we know and love. So when you try and make them a little more dark and subdued and subversive, that it doesn't quite work, because they're still like our darlings in a way.
Right.
So we've got these books coming out that are being turned into shows that were that way to begin with.
And I think there's a very key difference. Like, you want Superman to be Superman, but like if you can introduce a Superman character like Homelander.
Yes.
And I won't give anything away, but he's
Which of course isn't to say that Superman doesn't have comics where he's darker.
Yeah, of course.
But they're not the ones that the majority knows.
Right. They're usually like Elseworld stories or like alternate realities and stuff like that.
The average Joe thinks of Superman as Superman. Like upstanding citizen, good guy.
Exactly.
No issues. Totally cool.
When you want to see a Superman movie, that's what you got to go see.
Fair enough.
Speaking of subversive superheroes, we're going to be giving away a My Hero Academia Deku figure later in the show. So definitely stay tuned to that, because you will have a chance to win. And if you are a My Hero fan, you're probably going to want to answer this question, because I was told by a My Hero fan that it is the question on everybody's mind. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. And I guess it's time for What's at Comic Shops.
Yeah.
Anna Mia's here, and she's going to show us what's hit shelves this week at your local comic book store. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Mia here. Do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's What's at Comic Shops for the week of August 21st. Is that it? No way. Your comic shop has something for every type of customer. So stop at a comic shop today, and we'll see you back here next week.
Thanks, Mia, and of course that's just a little bit of what's available right now. If you want to see a rundown of the full list of titles that you can get at your shop right now, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. What you reading?
So I was really good last week and didn't choose Jonathan Hickman's X-Men book, but I'm going to choose Powers of X #3 this week. And actually, truthfully, the last 2 weeks on this book have been pretty interesting. And like they did a revelation like 2 weeks ago where it's like Moira McTaggart is. Well, I don't want to give anything away. I mean, I feel like you should be reading the book at this point.
I haven't read it yet.
Okay, I won't give anything away. I won't give anything away because I know Johnny probably will want to read this eventually. But they did a big Moira McTaggart revelation. Moira's been dead in the comics for a while.
Oh, wow.
But like the revelation itself is actually pretty interesting because it rearranges like how you look at the history of the X-Men.
I like that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is what they've been touting with these books,
right.
too.
And normally you kind of like, when they say that, you're like, oh, come on, guys,
sure,
this again?
whatever,
Sure.
yeah.
This is real, though. And it's got so many people like hook, line, and sinker.
Cool.
And like, yeah, it's really interesting. There's like, they're introducing this concept of, well, Nimrod's back into play, but they're introducing this concept of like these hyper-aware sentinels or half-human, half-sentinel hybrids. And like, it's going in some interesting places. And the issue that came out the week before was kind of like a little palate cleanser because the Moira thing was such a big issue.
Yeah.
And so now I'm curious what this is going to be. It's just good. It's just like, I just can't say enough about it. Like, yeah, it's just really enticing. Like, it's something you want to follow for 12 issues, which I think is like saying a lot. So,
very nice.
And I ran to the comic book store like for the last 2 weeks just to go pick it up. So.
That's saying something.
And I don't have to do that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. With your job.
Right. So yeah, like definitely check out Powers of X #3 if you're not
cool.
already. What are you looking forward to?
So I mentioned this on the show before, Kanto.
Yeah.
So we're on to the 3rd issue, and for those of you that don't know, this is from IDW, and it's about these people that once had hearts and now they have clocks. So this one character, whose name is Kanto, has to go on an adventure to sort of try and save his people and save the people he loves. And in this issue, he's sort of figured out what he has to do and where he has to go.
Okay.
But he has to face a foe known only as the Shrouded Man.
Interesting.
Which
Okay.
sounds pretty
That
cool.
sounds pretty
But
cool,
yeah,
yeah.
it's described as sort of Wizard of Oz meets Dante's Inferno.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool looking character
And
too.
it's cute.
I was shocked that it wasn't a video game. He looks like a video game
He
character.
does.
Like,
Do that, please.
Yeah.
Let's make a Kanto video
Right,
game. I'd be
right,
down
right.
for sure.
it reminded me. I don't know. Like I for some reason, have you ever played Limbo?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I got some Limbo vibes from
Yeah,
it. And
sure.
that might be completely off because I haven't read it, but I just kind of got that side scroller vibe from
Sure.
the character when I first saw him.
Absolutely.
So. Also, something else I'm looking forward to this week. I actually read on Monday Jimmy Olsen #1, and I was kind of like, we'll see what this is about, because I've never fully bought into like the Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Like that's always how they kind of always, like the book, there was an old book in the 60s, it was like that, and it was like Silver Age title, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen and his misadventures, and you're like, why would I want to read that?
Right.
But I picked this up because it's Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber, and I read it and I was like, and I totally bought into it. Like
Cool.
it's just kind of screwball. It's literally like he's kind of like the Daily Planet's Daredevil. Like not the comic book Daredevil, but like he just does like more like Johnny Knoxville. Like like he
that's
just
what I
does
figured.
ridiculous things for the Daily Planet. And the book opens with him attempting some stunt. It goes horribly wrong, and he basically gets kind of like put on an assignment like in Gotham, because they're like, we need to get you away from Metropolis because every time you do something, it like destroys the city.
Stop.
Right, and Superman has
pretty
to save you. And Matt Fraction did Hawkeye, which was also kind of like a very subversive, like a lot of subversive this week, but like a very subversive sort of like superhero book, because it was kind of like getting into like the mundaneness of Hawkeye's life.
Sure.
I feel like this is going to be very similar to that, but also just imaginative and fun and just odd. Like they start the book off talking about the Olsen family line. Like they go back to like the history of Metropolis and how there's always been an Olsen there.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, so
I
I'm
like
interested.
that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in like where this book's going to go moving forward. So the last issue ended with him in Gotham City, and like it's just sort of like, okay, where is this going to go now? So yeah, tons of weird cliffhangers and just screwball. That's the best way I
like
can put
that.
it. So
That's enjoyable.
what else are you looking forward to this week?
So the Nora Volume 1 trade paperback is
Oh,
out.
nice. Yeah, yeah.
And this book is really cool. It's the first 4-issue miniseries from Casey Pierce and Sean Seal. And like the art and everything in here looks gorgeous, and the story is really cool. Basically, the main character Nora and her husband developed a drug for a branch of the military, and it alters the DNA of the subject, but you'd sort of get random stuff as far as I can tell, and it killed her husband, but she ended up with a power that allows her to enter the minds of other people, and she's making her living as a coma fisher.
Nice.
Which means she goes into the minds of coma patients and basically either decides whether or not to bring them out of it or send them on to the next life.
Right, yeah.
So, it just seems really interesting and strange. And
yeah, and that's a cool concept. We interviewed Casey Pierce. I think we've interviewed her twice about her book, and she's always really enthusiastic to talk about her title. It reminds me a little bit of Inception.
Yeah,
like in the
I
way
was sort of thinking Inception or like Cell.
Cell.
Right?
I see. I never saw that. I know what you're talking about though, but yeah. So yeah, no, definitely something. It's like an interesting like sci-fi book, like in sci-fi with PSY. That's how that's how she pitched it.
That's really good.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, definitely check that out. The book, collected edition is out this week. Other titles to look forward to if you're following the City of the Bane storyline. Batman 77 continues that storyline. It's Tom King and Tony Daniel, and it seems like Batman's going to intersect with Bane and Thomas Wayne at this point, because pretty much Bane is just running rampant on Gotham City to the point that even the villains are running scared.
Oh my lord.
Yeah. And then now also you have the Thomas Wayne from Flashpoint who's factoring into this. Me personally, don't know how I feel about Thomas Wayne being around this long. Like, it was cool in Flashpoint, but I've seen them do really cool things with him in The Button and a couple of other things recently, so it's probably still pretty cool. People seem to respond to it. So yeah, definitely check out City of Bane. Batman 77 is a continuation of that storyline. What else should people look out for?
Also out this week, and I'm very excited about this personally, is the Saga Compendium Volume 1. So for all you guys that have been missing Saga, you can get a whole big chunk of it, right, while they're on hiatus. Hopefully it's not too long or permanent. But yeah, it's the ultimate binge read of Saga, and it's got issues 1 through 54.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's big. Like when they say compendium, they are not joking. So yeah, check it out.
Nice bingeable format for like the title and whatnot, and it's 54 issues. That's a monster. I was looking at the price, and I was like, why does it cost? Oh, it's 54 issues. That's why.
It's a big boy.
So actually, we're going to kick it over to a trailer now. Here's Going to the Chapel from Action Lab Danger, and when we come back, we'll tell you a little bit more about it. But check this out. And that's Going to the Chapel from Action Lab Danger. It's actually kind of interesting because it's like the way that he described it is sort of like Die Hard in a wedding chapel. Like basically the bride is some like, rich person and like a bunch of Elvis impersonators come to rob her. Right, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like now she has to like, go John McClane inside the wedding chapel, which I think is kind of interesting. So it's a fun one. It's written by David Pepose. We did an interview with him actually on PREVIEWSworld.com, so definitely check that out. It'll give you a little bit more insight to it. Now it's time for news.
It's true.
Thea's here, and she's going to show you what's been going on in the world of comics in the last 7 days. Check it out.
Across the DC universe come this November, once familiar faces wielding lantern power rings now wear a different uniform and enforce a new type of galactic law. The Green Lantern Corps is dead. Long live the Black Stars in a new 3-issue miniseries, Green Lantern Black Stars, by Grant Morrison and Zermanico. Who are the Black Stars? What are they? Answers will be revealed as the unstoppable Black Stars set their sights on the demons of Izmo, Mongol, and a tiny backwater planet called Earth. Paving the way for more exciting Green Lantern adventures in 2020, a dangerous new chapter of the Green Lantern mythology starts in Green Lantern Black Stars #1, available in comic shops November 6th.
I love how like Earth is always like the trailer park of the universe.
So great. It's like, there's this little crappy planet that nobody cares about.
Nobody wants to go to.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to invade.
And yet everybody does.
Yeah, everybody ends up going there. Exactly. Right. I'm currently reading Morrison's Green Lantern. Well, I'm playing catch up on it. So hopefully my comic shop guys, Alliance Comics and Games, Silver Spring, can you put that in my box, please? I appreciate it. Yeah, because I'm all for it. Like whatever he's doing, I'm on board.
Awesome.
And his Green Lantern so far has been a lot of fun. So.
Awesome.
Definitely worth reading.
Very nice, very nice. Next up, Mike Baron and Steve Rude return to their beloved superhero comic in Nexus, the Newspaper Strips Volume 1, The Coming of Gormando Trade Paperback, and Nexus, Newspaper Strips Volume 1, The Coming of Gormando Artist Edition Hardcover. Baron and Rude deliver a new Nexus adventure in this special collection that also includes the newly remastered Nexus The Origin comic and the classic Rude hand-painted Sundra story, When She Was Young. Both 184-page editions of Nexus, the Newspaper Strips Volume 1, The Coming of Gormando, go on sale in comic shops on February 19th, 2020.
Nice. I'm actually ashamed to admit I don't know that much about Nexus.
Me either.
Like, I definitely know about Steve Rude, but like, yeah, it's just one of those things, those characters that's been around forever. So maybe it's a good jumping on point. Like, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a chunk of stuff, so.
It is, right.
Jump on in and get what's good.
Yeah, sure.
Image Comics is pleased to announce an all-new ongoing genre-defying series by New York Times bestselling author Jeff Lemire and critically acclaimed artist Phil Hester, The Family Tree, which will launch this November. In The Family Tree, an 8-year-old girl literally begins to transform into a tree, and her single mom, troubled brother, and possibly insane grandfather must embark on a bizarre and heart-wrenching odyssey across the backroads of America in a desperate search for a cure to her horrifying transformation, before it's too late. The Family Tree combines mystery, action, and Cronenbergian body horror into an epic story about the lengths a mother will go to keep her children safe in the face of an increasingly unstable world and unspeakable horrors. The Family Tree #1 hits stores Wednesday, November 13th.
I've been sleeping on Jeff Lemire. Like, I probably need to go ahead and like read this, especially since it's Phil Hester. I've always liked his artwork. Like, yeah, he did a.
It looks very, very pretty.
Yeah, he did a bunch of Kevin Smith comics like a while. Nice. It was like they're all like a skew universe stuff.
Good.
Like, yeah, and like I've been a fan of his ever since.
Conceptually, I love this book because a friend of mine and me, both when we're getting like really bummed out about life, we're like, let's just go be trees. So this book, I was like, I immediately sent it to him. I was like, somebody else has the same thought. Like, turn into trees. Just become trees. Being a tree is easier than being a people.
There you go. Yeah, right. The sky waters you. Like, yeah,
that's
why
true.
not?
You just chill.
You just chill out.
Create oxygen.
Create some shade. Create some oxygen.
That's cool.
Yeah, be use in life.
Last but not least, Todd McFarlane has released some interior page looks for his upcoming history-making Spawn number 300 from Image Comics. To see these 7 pages in more detail, featuring art from McFarlane, Greg Capullo, Jerome Opeña, and Jason Sean Alexander, head over to the Previews World website. And don't forget that Spawn 300 hits comic shops September 4th. Yeah. It's coming up.
It is, yeah.
And like this artwork is, of course, super cool.
No, it is. Like, the interiors for these are actually pretty phenomenal. And also, like, yeah, like you said, just go to the website. Like, there's tons more.
Yeah.
And actually, we got the McFarlane cover for the first time this week as well. So that's also another big reveal.
Many Spawns.
Yeah, and also I've been teasing this for months now, but we do have a McFarlane interview. It's about 15-20 minutes long, and it will be going up in the next couple of weeks. So definitely keep an eye on that because he just talks about Spawn everything.
Good.
So
very nice.
So G.I. Joe, right? a real American hero.
Uh-huh.
The G.I. Joe is getting a relaunch from IDW coming up soon. It's from Paul Allore and Chris Evan Weiss. And IDW was nice enough to do like a time-lapse video where they kind of showed the process behind the cover.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead and show you that time-lapse video. And then we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about it and give you some context. But definitely check this out. G.I. Joe #1, a little time-lapse by Evan Weiss. Check it out. Chris Evan Weiss, the artist behind G.I. Joe #1. He's doing interiors and the cover on that one, and so we got to see, like, you know, just some of his process behind the cover. It's actually kind of interesting because, like, they're doing this thing where Cobra kind of takes over, and so, like, the cover is kind of a bit of a half propaganda, but also a narrative itself, which is really interesting. I also find that really interesting because Hydra was always the inspiration for Cobra.
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
it works.
It's just interesting that they're kind of playing into that a little bit more because this idea that they just take over everything. So definitely check that out. And actually, that comes out next week. So keep an eye out for G.I. Joe #1 from IDW. But it's toy time.
It's true.
Natasha's here, and she's going to show you what's inside the previous toy chest. And then when we come back, we might have a giveaway for you. I don't know. We'll find out.
Hey Previews World, Natasha here, and I'm going to give you a look at some of the new toys and collectibles in stores today. Here's your Previews toy chest for the week of August 21st, 2019. Want to see more? Be sure to check out Talking Toys, our weekly show that spotlights new collectibles on their way to your friendly local comic shop. Just head over to previewsworld.com/talkingtoys to find out more.
Thanks, Natasha. And if you guys want to see more cool toys and collectibles that are coming your way, head on over to previewsworld.com/toychest.
I'm not here for the overrepresentation of Batman.
There is a lot of Batman.
There's a lot
this
of
week.
Batman. There's seven Batmans for 2 Thanos.
And I love the random Mechagodzilla in there.
Is that your pick this week?
Absolutely my pick for the toys,
Cool. I like it. Like the little mini Godzilla, Mechagodzilla. So we have a prize this week.
It's true.
Because we've been saving it for the end of the show, but I figured that was a good time to drop this here. Do we have any My Hero fans watching? If you do, you might want to pay attention right now. What do we have this week?
Waha! We have Fancy Deku.
Right. Actually, I wish you could take it out of the box. This actually looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can see on this side here. So I'm always like, how far back?
There you go.
But yeah, very solid. It's from Ben Presto, so it's like very, very quality.
High quality.
Yeah, super quality. So, of course, as usual, if you all want to win this guy, let us know, besides Deku, who you think is a host for One for All and why.
Right. Yeah. Have you watched this at all? I haven't watched it at all.
No, I haven't.
I'm all about stealing passwords. I've stolen a friend's Crunchyroll password.
There you go.
So I intend to watch this because everyone has said, if you like superheroes, you should watch this. So yeah, let us know. I don't know what that question means because I have not watched the show. But
nailed it.
But if you are interested in this, and I think a lot of people would be, definitely check this out.
Absolutely. As usual, we'll take entries until next week, and we'll pick one of you guys.
Cool. And speaking of superheroes, I'm going to try that as a segue. Why not? Absolute Carnage is actually in comic shops right now, and I've heard nothing but really positive things about it. And it just so happens that Marvel has gifted the internet a little short film about Absolute Carnage, and it features actually Norman Osborn. So, like, yeah, check this out. This is like an Absolute Carnage motion comic. And then when we come back, we'll have some more stuff to talk about. Check it out.
Treadwell, how's the family?
Come now, Norman. You know I don't allow talk about my personal life in here.
And you know my name ain't Norman.
Still going with that, are we?
Still going with that, are we? I am Cletus Cassidy.
Right. After you and the Carnage symbiote were violently separated in Times Square, you now believe you are Cletus Cassidy, the person most associated with Carnage.
I am Cletus Cassidy!
I was looking into your past and everything you've done. I must say, it's quite a life. From starting and running your own company, Oscorp, to being the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the leader of the Avengers. Plus, you know, all those times you dressed up like a gremlin and flew around trying to kill Spider-Man.
Goblin. He dressed as a green goblin.
Of course. How silly of me. Luckily, I've got a Norman Osborn expert sitting here across from me.
Why are we still talking about Norman Osborn and his pathetic costumed attempts at killing Spider-Man?
Because, Norman, what I noticed about your checkered and wildly irrational life is that no matter what you're doing, it is always in the pursuit of more power. Whether in a business suit or a goblin costume, Norman Osborn needs, above all else, to be the apex predator on the top of the food chain. Which is why this current situation is so perplexing. How is the great and powerful Norman Osborn allowing himself to take the cerebral backseat to some low-life serial killer?
Low-life serial killer! I am a weapon of mass destruction. Norman Osborn's Green Goblin joyrides are nothing compared to the wholesale slaughter I have brought upon this planet.
If only you could hear yourself right now, Norman.
It's Cletus!
I think maybe it's time to take a break. You want anything to drink?
Your blood.
I'll have to check and see if we've got any in the fridge. In the meantime, don't you go anywhere. He's in a mood today.
Dr. Treadwell, is it smart to get him riled up like that? His mind must be so extremely fragile.
You're worried about him? That's Norman Osborn in there. And not just that, a Norman Osborn who thinks he's Cletus Cassidy. If I go in there with the crust cut off the sandwiches, he'd eat me alive. The only language he understands is strength.
Get off!
Do you want to see a magic trick?
Open sesame! Well, isn't this a treat? No! Stay still! I want to see what you look like on the inside. Whoa! Sorry, Gabby, but I don't have time for your crazy right now. Don't kill him! Please!
Kill him? Pay attention, little bug. I'm not here to kill.
Dear God, no!
I'm here to make friends.
Thank you. Thank you for all of this. What do you require of me?
I need the codexes. Pieces of symbiotes left inside those who have bonded with them. With those codexes, I can call no, my God, to help destroy this world once and for all.
Huh. Nate.
I need you to get a very specific codex for me.
Where's Normie Osborn?
Hi, Dad.
that was a little tie-in short, a little motion comic for Absolute Carnage, which is in comic shops right now. A lot of people are saying really positive things about it. It's Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates, so I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like it, to be honest. And as we saw in the short, it impacts the larger Spider-Verse. So yeah, if you're a big Spider-Man fan, I know I am, it might be a good time to like tune into that one. Normally we would do Social Swamp this week, but the video is kind of long that we just showed you, so we're going to bypass it this week. We'll be back with Social Swamp soon. But I did want to point out, we didn't do last week's winners.
That's
so
true.
Who is
we have the winner of last week's prize, which is the Mezco 112 Collective Logan. Our winner is Weezo, and he answered the question of who should play Wolverine with, I'm personally putting my vote in for Scott Eastwood as Wolverine.
I could see that. I mean, like, that would be kind of more of a Clint Eastwood, more of a Hugh Jackman type of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, even in his full response, he admits that he's a little tall for the role.
Right,
but he
also
thinks that he could fit it.
Yeah, I like Scott Eastwood.
Fair enough.
I saw some weird ones though. Like there was one person said John C. Reilly, which I was like, that has to be a troll. Are you kidding me? Like I didn't quite understand that. Someone else said Kit Harington. Which maybe, like, if I'm just not sure what his range is. Like, could he be like feral?
I think he probably could. But I mean, they'd have to sort of figure where in the timeline we are on that one because he's pretty young.
Right. Yeah. I can see him as James Howlett Wolverine, like little baby.
Young
Wolverine.
There
like
you
not
go.
baby Wolverine, but like a younger Wolverine before he's gotten into the Weapon X stuff and all that stuff. So yeah, I still don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Fair
like, maybe they should just go with a complete unknown, but.
I'm always down for that.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
But we're about 5 years removed from it, apparently, so we'll find out eventually. But I just thought it was a fun, like, fan casting's fun. Wizard always used to do the little casting calls in their magazine, so I figured, like, let's turn it over to fans, see what they have to say.
True.
We're almost done.
It's true.
But we do have a comic shop shout out this week, as always.
As usual, so we're going to leave you with photos of Fantastico Comics in Mexico. And of course, if you guys want to shout out your favorite local comic shop, let us know who they are. Find us on social media, wherever. Use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS, and you could get a feature on the show.
And that's it for Previews World Weekly this week.
It's true.
Thanks for joining us. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we'll see you at the spinner rack.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.